Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's the Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
It is time for another episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. And of course, I am the host and the creator of the show, Heneka Watkis-Porter. Welcome back to my regular listeners. And for those of you who are listening to the very first time, a very special and warm welcome to you. Where have you been all this time, huh? Anyway, better late than never. Last week, I had an interesting conversation with Natassia Wright, Her Excellency Natassia Wright. And she was so inspirational as usual. It's always a pleasure listening to her, speaking to her, sharing with her, whether it's on her platform or I'm sharing, or she's sharing on mine. So it's always a pleasure to speak with her, her story of tragedy to triumph. We need that. And she and her husband and her daughter, who they're bringing into the business as well, they're just such inspirational family. And exactly what the society needs at this time, because sometimes the social media space is just inundated with all things negative. So we need the positivity in the space. All right. Now, this week, we are certainly in for another treat. I am not telling you who it is right now, but just to say, it's somebody who is a friend, who is a sister, just an amazing individual who is so accomplished, so inspirational as well. I mean, we can't have too much inspiration on this show. She's a social entrepreneur and so much more, but we'll get into that later on. So before we bring her on, of course, I want to, as you know, thank the persons who make the show possible, because, gratitude is a must, right? And they continue to support the Entrepreneurial You. So the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited, the National People's Cooperative Bank of Jamaica Limited, Profit Jumpstarter, and the Jamaica Stock Exchange, whose podcast, the Jamaica Stock Exchange You, is hosted and produced by me. And of course, I encourage and implore you to give it a listen when you do get a chance. Now, here's a word from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And after that, I will be bringing on my guest and just delving into our conversation.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mafood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Entrepreneurial You. And let me move right into the opening business tip, courtesy of the National PC Bank of Jamaica. Research your competition. Yes, we can't say that enough. It's important for you to do an analysis of your competition. You can't be afraid to study and learn from them. Do your research, because you may find that there may be products and services that you can offer your clients and customers that your competitors do not or simply cannot. So thank you so much for that opening business tip, the National PC Bank of Jamaica. All right, the moment you've been waiting for. Ta-da! Drum roll. My guest on episode 284 of the Entrepreneurial You is Tishana Mullings. Tishana has served as ambassador for the National Financial Inclusion Strategy for the Bank of Jamaica, and she was a National Farm Queen in 2014. She's a JP, a social entrepreneur, and she's accomplished so many things. In 2019, she received an award for being one of the 30 most influential young leaders under 30 of Caribbean African heritage from the Institute of Caribbean Studies. She is the founder of Next Step Lifelong Educational Services. She completed a master's degree in development administration and planning at the University College of London. Welcome, my friend Tishana. How you do?
Thank you. It's always a pleasure joining you, Heneka.
Absolutely, Lord. Because I mentioned the whole University of London, I cannot help but hear the British accent chipping in.
Yes, it goes in and out, in it.
Oh my gosh. All right. So before we get into the meat of the matter, the thick of things, as it were, what do you love most about being Jamaican?
I love the energy and vibe. Jamaican comes with a certain vibe and energy, and I often tell the joke of when I go to international conferences and people say, I'm from Guyana or from St. Vincent, and people say, where in Jamaica is that? And then, my fellow colleagues will get slightly offended, and, we just laugh about it because it's one big Caribbean, but, there's a certain vibe that comes with being Jamaican, and that's my favorite thing about being Jamaican.
Absolutely. The vibe, I hear a lot of persons come on here and they talk about the food, they talk about the vibe, the energy, we just got it going on. You know what I mean? I always share that when I travel and I'm amongst other, persons from Caribbean descent and stuff. And they were like, I become the envy really of these persons, because immediately as I open my mouth and say that I'm from Jamaica, the atmosphere shifts and the attention comes directly toward me, and everybody is like, oh, we're here too. Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't help it. It's just a part of who we are.
We love our Caribbean brothers and sisters.
Yes, we love them. You know what I mean? We love you guys, but you don't know, and you would admit it as well. We bring a vibe like nobody else can. Yeah. All right. So there's just so much to talk about with you, Tishana. But I don't know. Let's start from this little girl running up and down in St. Thomas, growing, going to school and maybe, have some dreams and stuff. What was young Tishana like?
I'd love to go back to my roots and tell that story, because it really explains a lot of who I am now. And people who meet me now, they just see the now Tishana who is confident, the social development practitioner. But that making of me really came from who I was as a child and where I'm from. So born and raised in St. Thomas. And over the years, we've been looked at as a parish that, was not given much attention. I call it the remembered parish, and other people call it the opposite. I don't even utter those words anymore when I talk about my parish, which is why I'm completely avoiding calling it what people normally call it, the opposite of the remembered parish, which is what I call it. And so growing up in such a place, I kind of struggled to find my confidence. And before I had the kind of eye that I had now, when I was looking around for examples of success, it seemed a bit sparse. Now that I'm actually searching for examples of success, I see many. But back then, I wasn't seeing many examples of success. Little Tishana was very shy. I remember in preschool, I was academically bright, but in terms of my personality, I was very, very shy. So while I did well in academics and I did well in sports, I didn't really do the things that you had to talk or you had to be upfront. And that kind of continued into primary school. In high school, I realized that there was more in me, but I still didn't quite know how to access it. So again, I was the quiet girl, the shy girl, the girl where everybody wondered if she can really talk. That was who I was. And there were, my mom used to travel a lot with my dad. So I had a lot of different parents at different times as my parents were trying to make life overseas. So that also gave me lots of experiences. And so in sixth form was when I decided I wanted to pursue the Tishana that people are now experiencing when they meet me. And I'm sure the rest of that story will come out throughout the rest of the interview, Heneka.
So in sixth form is when you kind of start to, as they say, blossom, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what was it about sixth form that caused that shift? What would you say?
Well, first of all, when I finished high school, as in finished fifth form, I thought, what am I going to do now? And my parents said, well, go to sixth form. And I'm like, well, I want to go to university. And they said, go to sixth form. So sixth form, I decided, you know what, I'm going to use these 2 years to find myself. Since I'm not getting to go directly to university, I'm going to use these 2 years. I'm going to figure out who I am. I'm going to figure out why I'm on earth. I'm going to make sure that I'm not that shy girl anymore, because I often say this. I used to sense that there are messages of inspiration inside of me. I used to hear them in my own head, but I couldn't get them out into the world. I didn't know. When I opened my mouth, it's like it didn't come out quite the way it was in my head. And I started pursuing. So I went online and I literally typed in, how do you find yourself? How do you find your purpose? And that's how I discovered that there is something called life coaching. I was shocked. I'm like, wow, there's actually a thing. There's actually a whole field, a whole practice that people look at to find yourself and find out, how to pursue your dreams. And that's how I found life coaching. And the moment I found that, I started on it like hot. I wasn't stopping. And when I did life coaching, not only did I become clear about my life goals, but I improved in every section of my life in terms of how I related to others. I told you when I was in preschool, I was doing well. And it kind of tapered off. I wasn't doing so well in primary and high school. But when I did life coaching, even academics transformed. I graduated from Northern Caribbean University, valedictorian. And at that point, I didn't expect it because I'd scraped through CXCs, kind of, and, kind of just survived sixth form, basically, and got enough grades to get into university. So I didn't see myself as an A student then, but life coaching and the way I looked at myself kind of transformed my entire life. And that's how I ended up starting my business, because I wanted to do this for people. When you listen to people like Les Brown and Tony Robbins and some of the other people who have been on this podcast, they'll tell you that there's a lion within and, all of these kind of things. I wanted to make that real for people. When people say there's a lion within, what does that mean? How do you access it? When people say, believe in yourself, how do you materially actually believe in yourself? I wanted to be the person that created that roadmap that tell you what to do, where to apply to, what to read, what to study, what to say to yourself, that kind of thing. And to date, that's what I do for a living. Really help people and organizations to find themselves.
And I must admit, you do it quite well, very, very well, in fact, I think there's something about sixth form, that kind of draw people out, because I listened to your story right here, Tishon, and trust me, I kind of feel like you're talking about me, because I remember when I was in high school, I just barely came through high school, right? I don't know, people in the community used to say me bright, but I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, like average report and all these things. And it wasn't until sixth form that I started, because I was very shy and reserved, and I had a lot of issues that would have led to me being shy and, no confidence and all of these things. But sixth form kind of shifted at something inside of me that let me realize that, hey, you can do stuff. I mean, it didn't all come out at that time, but it began something, I am sure. So you recognize that you can do life coaching and you can do all of these fantastic things. And, I haven't even shared everything in your bio that you've done, all the awards that you've gotten, the opportunities that you've gotten overseas to study and to be trained and all of these things. And somebody, look at you and they probably think, how did you get to do all of these things? Like, we know that something shifted in you, right? From you start going to sixth form and stuff, but it must have taken a special kind of person to, growing up in the country, and yet that you can accomplish these things. What was it about you, Tishana?
Yeah, there is a term that when I was on the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative, this was a program by Barack Obama that he announced in Jamaica on his visit here. So when he had his first official batch, I went, and there's a man that described me as a positive deviant. And I'm saying that because that it has a lot to do. That's how I basically discovered myself, like people discovering me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm that. I had a lot of experiences like that, because at first, in terms of self-concept and defining who I am, I did have some struggles in my teens, and so the gentleman said, you're a positive deviant. I was telling him my story and where I was from. So he said, you are from a hometown that a lot of people see as comatose and behind and whatever. And you look at the resources that you have, even if it's just your skills, because one of the skills I have is speaking well in the public. When I thought about a project to do, I decided, you know what, I don't have a lot of money, but I'm going to use some of the money from my paycheck and I'm going to use the skills that I had. And I started a kids competition, teaching them how to speak and using speaking as a tool to better understand yourself and your value and that kind of thing. And that's what I gave. And that's what a positive deviant is. They look in their environment and they deviate from the negative, and they do not allow the negative to infiltrate them, but they send out positive energies to transform what they're seeing around them using whatever resource they have. So that's how I have defined myself since as a positive deviant, you know. And you said it takes a special kind of person. Well, my source is God. You know, different people have different sources. So, you know, inspired by God, the courage and strength and everything he gave me, and the understanding from people around me as they believe in me, like this man that said I was a positive deviant, I formed an identity of self. And as I matured, I reflected more to see, is this really who I am? So that I'm not being defined just by what everybody said to me. But to be honest, it kind of helped on the journey when people saw me. I remember the first time I ran for office in a student position on NCU's campus. It was as chaplain, and it was somebody that said to me, Tishana, you can be our chaplain. I'm going to vote for you. And after I was chaplain the next year, somebody said, you can be president. And I'm like, you know, I didn't see myself as being a president of anything at the time. So that's really how I've grown over the years. People just really spotting. This is why I think it's important for persons, when we see greatness in others or we see something to compliment, we should share that, because we never know what it can do in a person's life.
Absolutely. And let me just pause here to, well, I'm about to read a review, but I also want to apologize to my listeners. I want to apologize to you that you may be hearing some distortion coming in. It's just based on, you know how it is. You know, we do these things virtually, and sometimes the location is not the best at the time, but we make it work, right? So we crave your indulgence and apologies for the distortion that you're hearing. All right, so let me take a break right here to share a review, a podcast review coming from username Lamek1990. And this person is in the United States. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, girl or boy, whatever. So it says, great venture. Looking forward to more. Really cool and interesting podcasts. Lots of value bombs dropped, and I love the name. Awesome guests. Looking forward to more. All right, thank you so much for sharing. And of course, if you left a review, please send me an email at henekawatkisporter@gmail.com and let me know so that I can shout you out right here on the show. All right, so let's now get back to the conversation with Tishana. And as we resume, what I'd want us to talk about right now is, Tishana, your entrepreneurial ventures, you know, in social entrepreneurship. Just kind of share that experience with us and what it is that your business does.
All right, yes. So as a social entrepreneur, first of all, I just want to underscore that I came into this space because, as my mentor often says, there are too many issues in the world to just go into business for the sole purpose of making profit. If you can make profit while you're solving an issue in the world to make the world a better place, then, you know, you're doing doubly great. And so that's why I started Next Step Lifelong Educational Services. What I focus on is bringing soft skills to improve people's lives and organizations. This training company, what makes us a social enterprise is that we seek to lower unemployment by engaging young people in apprenticeship experiences. So in every single program, every single engagement, we always have an apprentice that's understudying the process. So that's our social mission, to lower unemployment by providing apprenticeship experiences for young people. And it's been really rewarding over the years. A lot of young people would have gotten great jobs, improved resumes, all that good stuff, while we consistently make profit from, you know, engaging corporate, doing one-on-one training and coaching activities. So that's what I do as a social entrepreneur. I also do wider work in terms of social development consultancy, which takes me really global in terms of influencing communities from here to the UK, helping them to build their capacity and so on. So it's been a beautiful, very rewarding experience.
All right. Sounds like it. Now, a young person is listening to you and they're thinking, all right, how do I start a business as a social entrepreneur? What are the things I need to consider? What's the first thing you say to them, Tishana?
I'll say, look around you. What issue do you see that you feel some kind of passion about, and just thinking, I think something needs to be done about this. And then you start thinking, how could I do something about this in a way where I'm making money? So it starts with the thinking, because everything that we see around us, even in hardcore business, from toothpaste to lotion, it was a need. It was somebody saying, what if we had something convenient in a tube to just brush our teeth? So it's the same thing. You start from a social entrepreneur. This issue, whether it be teenage pregnancy or a bigger issue like poverty or whatever, what small part can I do to help to, alleviate this issue? And then find mentors, get help. And sometimes people say, where do I get a mentor? Are you in any LinkedIn group, any Facebook group? Look for the people who have experience in the areas that you want to step into, and stay in their zone and get to know them. And I always say too, when you're looking for mentorship in any area, offer help. Don't just ask for help. So for example, if I was a young person and I know Heneka and I want to be a number one podcaster, I might, find out where Heneka hangs out, whether online or in person, and get myself in that space. And one day when I have a chance to have a conversation with her, I'd say, as you do your podcast and so on, would you need any little admin help or any kind of support I can offer you? And more than likely, she would find something to say, well, you probably can help with this. And you develop a relationship. You start learning. There's a way to do it. So if you want to be a social entrepreneur, get into the space where they are and start talking about what you want to do and get help.
Absolutely. And that definitely makes sense. Earlier, you talked about being a coach and, and all that you're doing and mentoring other persons. Now, I know you had mentioned to me as you, before the show that you have a giveaway, right? You have a coaching program, the Ready, Set, Go coaching program, and you're giving away some discounts there. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So in terms of my coaching model, I normally run it in the order of Ready, Set, Go. Getting ready, that's the mindset to achieve your goal, whatever your goal is, academic, financial. And then set is where we actually work out how you're going to achieve it. So you're going to leave with spreadsheets. You're going to leave with an action plan exactly outlined. The names of the persons who you want to be your mentor. Like, it's really the nitty-gritty that we get in. And then in the Go session, we look at how will you sustain this, because you're not going to have me as your coach by your side for the next 60 years of your life, but you're going to need to be winning for the next 60 years. So how can we give you a system that you'll keep winning? So that's Ready, Set, Go. 3 sessions. And I want to give this away to one lucky person for just $50. And normally people would pay $300. So that's significant whopping discount, almost free, from $300 to $50 offering to somebody Ready, Set, Go coaching program. Listening to this and you are ready to move on a big goal, whether it's something you want to write, whatever it is, or something you're struggling with, maybe your public speaking skills and you have a goal of just mastering that this year. Whatever it is, once it's soft skills related, reach out. Heneka can let you know how to find me, whether through her podcast or through the links shared.
Well, in fact, it is more than the 50% that you had initially said. So, wow, some lucky person, hey? Not even lucky, blessed, I guess. All right. No, you are going to share your contact information, Tishana. Where do you want persons to find you most? They want to find out about this program, or they just want to get in touch with you generally for inspiration or to connect with you for all the things that you're doing. Where can they find you most conveniently?
All right, so I'm everywhere on social media as Tishana Indomitable Mullings. Sometimes people have a challenge finding the Indomitable, But let me just spell it quickly. Tishauna, Tishauna. There's a U in there. Normally say U for unique. Indomitable Mullings. For those who like to email, you can find me at lifecoachmullings@gmail.com. So once you inbox me, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, I will definitely be responding to you, or you can send me an email directly at lifecoachmullings@gmail.com.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tishauna Mullings, my friend, my sister, JP, social entrepreneur, all these things and more. You know, you have done extremely well, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud to call you friend. I'm proud to know you, to watch what you're doing, and to see how you're inspiring those from your community. You know, you're uplifting yourself, your family, and making this world a better place. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking with you on the Entrepreneurial You.
Thank you for tuning in. And here's what we are going to share with you today, courtesy of Profit Jumpstarter, regarding your money tip. Today's tip is manage your money. It is your hard-earned money, so spend time managing it, investing it properly, and making it earn for you. Understanding the time value of money will help you to realize how important it is to take control of what you earn. The central idea behind the time value of money is that a dollar earns and grows with time, which means a dollar now is worth more than a dollar in the future. Don't keep money idle. Manage it properly and invest it. Thank you so much, Profit Jumpstarter. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode with Tishauna Mullings. What's your standout moment for today? Well, send us your feedback at Heneka Watkis-Porter @gmail.com or on social media at Heneka Watkis-Porter. Remember to follow this podcast on your favorite podcast app, or connect with me for all things podcasting at HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. According to the scriptures today, being confident of this very thing, that he which begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1 verse 6. Walk good.